Sequels have always had an impossible task to accomplish, living up to the hype and credibility of its previous title. Sometimes this can go incredibly well, with the new title becoming a worthy successor, while some are cast aside like the run to the litter. But sometimes that run can return to our attention years after its release and reveal its true worth to its series. Let's take a look at a few sequels that are actually good games but never got the hype or attention they should have had, or were just greatly misunderstood. Number 8. Tony Hawk's Underground 2. The Tony Hawk series has always been held in high regard, and the recent release of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 has got people drooling at the mouth at the chance to get that sweet hit of nostalgia with its signature blend of gravity-defying tricks and the most incredible soundtracks. However, with all great series, there are a few titles that fail to live up to the standard, and while Thug 2 isn't considered a bad title overall, it's certainly not remembered as fondly as others. This could probably be chalked down to the somewhat over-the-top story mode, which makes it half a skating game and half a Jackass game, with Bam Margera playing a vital role in it to add to that fact. The game also has one of the weaker soundtracks of the series, and also doesn't offer much more in terms of what you could experience in the last game. In spite of its small scuffs, it's still a great game and one that you can still have tons of fun with. Also, the Easter egg level was so good. Number 7. Arkham Knight. Sinking shipmates, Batman! This game has had a weird existence. After the release of Arkham Origins, of which could have equally been on this list, many were excited for Arkham Knight. Rocksteady returning to the helm, the original voice actors for Batman and the Joker back on board, and a chance to drive the Batmobile. It was a recipe for pure success and the perfect way to send off a beloved franchise. It was sadly a false start for the game, as upon launch, Windows users were experiencing several technical issues. In terms of the actual game, it was clear that Arkham Knight suffered from having an incredibly predictable story, to the point that anyone who knew anything about Batman had it sussed within the first hour of gameplay. The Batmobile was a letdown too, as many people felt that the Caped Crusader's trusty vehicle had been shoehorned into the game too much, and on top of that, it wasn't exactly the easiest thing to handle. And let's not forget, everyone's favourite part of any Arkham game was back. That's right, the Riddler trophies. Criticisms aside, however, there is still a lot of game in Arkham Knight. While the twist was predictable, the story was still excellent. Traversing Gotham was as smooth as ever when you were gliding or grappling through the city. The Batmobile, for all its faults, was actually a lot of fun and really came to life on certain missions, and let's not deny how satisfying it is to lay the smackdown on some villain cronies and rack up a massive combo score. It wasn't a perfect landing, but the last installment, at this point in time, of the Arkham series is certainly one you should pick up if you have yet to. Number 6. Mass Effect 3. After hitting 2 straight home runs with Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2, fans of the series were almost sure that the final part of the trilogy would be a success as well. Then, the game came out, and to say people were upset would be a massive understatement. While some nitpicked at some of the technical bugs that existed within the game as their reason for their dissatisfaction, the biggest problem was the ending. Fans were left furious as they felt that all the decisions that they had made throughout the campaign, a massive mechanic in the franchise, had all been for nothing. That the choices they made didn't matter. Backlash to this was so bad, BioWare was forced to offer a new ending as free DLC to make up for this fact. The problem here is that the game itself is still great and has some of the saddest and most well-written game moments of the last decade in it, and the multiplayer was actually quite fun. Whatever side of the fence you're on about the ending, I think it's fair to say that this game was rather unfairly criticised and is still a great entry into an incredible franchise. Number 5. Prince of Persia, Warrior Within. The Prince of Persia games were sick. Parkour-inspired action that allows you to control time. Sign me up! Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time hit the ground running and was the starting point for the reboot franchise to keep making gold, and it's fair to say it did. It's also fair to say the series kind of dipped after the first entry. Warrior Within took the series on a darker path, and many fans felt that this ruined the more light-hearted vibe of the series, including the creator of the original Prince of Persia, Jordan Mechner, who also worked on Sands of Time. The addition of bloody killing moves and an overall grittier atmosphere had clearly rubbed some people the wrong way, but the game still has a fair bit to offer. The combat system was much better than the previous title. Add this to an actually pretty great story, it's got all the ingredients for a good game, and let's be honest, it was better than Two Swords. Number 4. The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. It's hard to think of a time that Skyrim wasn't the butt of a joke. That's probably due to the fact that since its original launch, fans of the series were less than impressed with the latest entry into the Elder Scrolls series. A fairly short main quest line, glitchy NPCs, quests not activating due to coding errors, and a less than great graphics upgrade, and you've got one hell of a mess on your hands. It doesn't help its cause with the fact that it's been ported and re-released so many times, including a version on the Amazon Alexa, which I do admit is quite fun. And the Took an Arrow jokes have been told far too many times. However, this detracts from the main point, which is that the game is actually amazing. The combat is smoother than Oblivion, and the little death animations are pretty great. The world of Skyrim is equal levels of beautiful and terrifying. The NPCs, when they aren't stuck in a wall, are some of the most charismatic of the series. The fights with the dragons are always incredibly tense, and the exploration is arguably the most rewarding of the series. Just don't get involved in the war, as both sides kind of suck. Number 3, Fallout 4. Bethesda really know how to make them, don't they? You could take most of what I've just said about Skyrim and place it here, and it would still be accurate. But there are some changes. Fallout 4 boasts many of the almost trademark issues that come with the Bethesda title. Dodgy NPCs, quests not activating, glitchy map areas, but it also suffers from having a rather predictable twist in its story. However, it also has a lot of stuff in it that is great. As mentioned before, with some of the most likable NPCs in any game I've played, the new speech mechanic is vastly superior to any of its predecessors, a pretty sick overworld, and enough side quests to keep you busy for the next 60 years. A big saving grace for this title is the DLC that came after it. Nuka World on its own has enough material for its own game, and Far Harbor was excellent too. Fallout 4 isn't a perfect game, but players can't deny that even with its flaws, it'll still keep you wandering the wasteland for days on end. Number 2, Dark Souls 2. I genuinely struggle to think of games that have been as divisive as Dark Souls 2. This game has literally split the Soulsborne community in half. One half of the argument claims that this game isn't good at all. Mediocre textures, bad hitboxes, awkward enemy placement resulting in what non-fans call artificial difficulty, too many bad bosses, arguably the most confusing overworld of the entire series, and Dark Souls creator Hidetaka Miyazaki only acting as supervisor for the game's creation is enough ammo for non-fans of Dark Souls 2 to throw it away and write it up as a miss for the franchise. The other side of the coin also has a lot to offer though, starting with the most beautiful hub world of the series with Majula. Add in the introduction of dual wielding and power stance, a better RPG mechanic than Dark Souls, better New Game Plus out of the 3 main games, and the most bosses of the series at 40 with the DLC. If that's your selling point. Many believe that the Scholar of the First Sin edition of the game greatly improves it all round, and adds a great chunk of lore that was missing from the game. Dark Souls 2 might be the Marmite of the Soulsborne lot, but we should also remember that the whole franchise is like pizza. Even the bad ones are still pretty good. Number 1, Bioshock 2. From the moment this game came into existence, it's been treated unfairly, and I'll have no more say on that matter. Bioshock 2 was released 3 years after its predecessor and has always been considered the littlest of the 3. Many felt the player becoming a Big Daddy was a wrong move as it still allows you to harvest little sisters, which admittedly is quite dumb considering the whole story of the campaign is you finding the little sister you were programmed to protect. Alongside this, the big sisters felt like padding at times in order to lengthen the game somewhat and didn't really reap much reward. Add this to a very mediocre multiplayer that no one played, and it's not hard to get why people see this as the bottom of the trilogy. However, people forget all the great things about Bioshock 2. First of all, you're a Big Daddy. After a whole game of fearing these assholes, you've become one, and the beatdowns you hand out as this behemoth are unparalleled. The weapons are better, and so are the plasmids. The new Kill Mercy mechanic is also an amazing addition where you're given a choice whether to spare lives or take them, which actually changes the ending in a major way, which I admit isn't great if you take the bad endings, but if you take the good ending, it works perfectly. The story for the game is also great, and you really experience the determination and agony Delta feels as you move through it. Let's also not forget the game boasts one of the greatest DLCs of all time, Minerva's Den, which might be the single most heartbreaking storyline I've ever played. It's a testament to how DLC should enhance a game, something I felt was missed with Bioshock Infinite's DLC, which flipped the game style into a stealth game for some reason and spent far too much time trying to tie all the games up, which just left it a confusing mess. All in all, Bioshock 2 should have never been shunned by fans, and deserves all the glory that the other two revel in. And that's your lot. Thank you so much for watching. Which sequel do you think deserves more recognition? Why don't you let us know down in the comments, and while you're there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we stream regularly over on Twitch, and you can find all those links in the description. I've been Swifty with Invicta Media, and we hope you have an amazing day, and we'll see you next time.